time for us to talk relationships. And today on the relationship segment, I've been joined by Michael Mensah, who is a family life advocate, a counselor. He's also a panelist on Family Life, our show on radio on 97.3 City FM. He's going to be talking to us about 5 levels of relationships. Now, this is a very important conversation for us to have. Let's get right into it. Good morning, Michael.
How are you? Good morning. Yeah, I'm good.
All right. So, 5 levels of relationships.
Yes.
Let's get into it.
Okay, all right. So basically, as human beings, we are very social beings. And it's been said that man is a creature of society and man is a connected person. So largely, we interact with people, we have various forms of linkages. And then we end up getting close to some and getting close to one. And so oftentimes the first level is the level of acquaintance.
Acquaintance?
Yes, okay. Where you strike an acquaintance with somebody. That is just the basic platonic engagement, highs, hellos, people you work with, people you are in the same social groupings with, and stuff like that. So it's on the first level of engagement. No real connection, no special linkages, just engaging on fellow feeling dimensions, being open, being free, being friendly, being warm. And so that's the first level. So the first level of relationship is normally the acquaintance stage, where there are no frills, where there are no real commitments, just platonic engagements. And when that happens, it helps you to excel, helps you to be of yourself, because there's not really much at stake. Once you're just being a good human being, male, female, you're okay. And that basically is how it goes. No much to it at all.
Okay. And the next level?
Yeah, so the next level from acquaintance, then you come to friendship. Now with friendship comes a bigger issue. You can be with many people but not get drawn to any of them. But then when you get from the acquaintance stage to the friendship stage, you're looking at getting a little more drawn in to a person or a group of people. And even with friendship, you can have as many as maybe 10 levels. So the level 1 is a basic level of just highs, hellos, once a while, a stroll together or a little chat. Then you can go on to the level 2s, the level 3s, level 4s, where now you're taking the friendship and the relationship to a higher level of commitment, where you share a little more about yourself, things that are not too personal, but that still gives a little more knowledge of who you are. Maybe the kind of food you like, the kind of place you live, the kind of things you do, your favorite colors and stuff. Those all feature in the process of the friendship. Okay. And then as it rises from the level 3s to the level 4s to the level 6s, then now you are getting more committed. So you can say, this is my friend, because then you are sharing a lot more things in common. You may be different in your nature or close, have certain similarities. But then at this stage, you are sharing more about each other. You are drawing yourselves in more. You are spending quality time together. You are, maybe when you have issues, you can call the person. And then you can even carry it on to the point where you talk about close friendship. But somebody can be your close friend, and yet you will not go on to the level of dating that person. So you can end at level 6, level 7, and that's just good friendship. But if you go on a little higher, then you can look at a close friend. And a close friend, not necessarily because you want to go beyond into the more connected dimension, but somebody that you trust, somebody that you respect, somebody that you care about. So even on this level, it's not the erotic or the more romantic kind of love. It's just a genuine filial kind of love, where you care genuinely about the person, the person cares about you. And when you keep that working well, then it gives you that room to express, because there's an issue, you can call him or her, seek your opinion. There's something that you want to do, you want to know what they think, and you know that they genuinely care. So friendship is the second level, where you build a bond of genuineness and then the bond of openness in communication. And often it's a friend, and when it's a good friend, that can tell you truly who you are and how you express. And that friendship is beautiful. And often that stage, it doesn't only become for one, can have a number of, if you're a guy, you can have a number of female friends. I mean, some may be a little closer than others.
Okay.
And out of the close ones, not all may be the kind that you may be feeling a certain way towards.
Yeah.
You get me? Okay. So gladly you would have a pool of friends, and some may be closer than others. And then out of that level of volumes of friends, or whatever number may be, then comes the third stage.
I assume that's dating, right?
Yes, so that's dating.
That's dating, okay.
So now, out of the number of friends you have, out of maybe a close one, then now you can look at, and now I want to draw closer to somebody. I want that significant other in my life. I want that person who blows my bubble, that person who makes me feel special. And so then you, out of the friends you have, or the close friends you have, then you now start drawing much closer. And now this time, the level of the closeness is not just for platonic, genuine, open relationships, but it's aimed at looking at the possibility of going beyond that and settling down with the person.
Okay.
So dating, people define dating differently in different cultures, but for our working definition this one, we're looking at dating as the next level of the relationship, which allows you to draw closer to a particular person. And at that point, it may not necessarily be one. It may be one or two, because you have not made the commitment.
Okay.
But you are saying, out of these two friends that I have, maybe this is a guy, maybe out of these two lady friends I have, I just want to know them a little more closely. So you spend more time. That's when you share a lot more deeper things about yourself, your dreams, your aspirations, your plans, what you expect the future to be, and then draw also from them. And as you get closer, this is when you visit them and maybe a little more often, you go out together. But even at all these stages, like we often recommend, keeping it non-sexual is helpful, because what sex does is that it clouds your judgment.
Okay.
And then bonds you beyond the point to which you want to be committed.
Okay.
And if you've gotten everything for the person has given everything to you, sometimes you feel bound, because it would be unfair to leave.
To walk away. Okay.
Secondly, at that stage too, you don't. So not just, so the first is sex, the next one is even resources. Somebody thinks that once I'm dating you, then I must take care of you, I must sponsor you. If you are sponsoring the person, then you are doing it from the point of a friend, not from the point that you are dating her as a committed partner.
Okay.
Because then if the person is not the kind you want, or you are not the kind they want, then they feel obliged as though they owe you something for what you have given them or how you sponsored them. So if you are doing it, do it purely because you are a good friend who cares and wants to help, but not as a tool to kind of either manipulate or have an advantage over that person. Because it always takes two to have a meaningful relationship. So if you are dating the person is also trying to size you up and be sure whether you are the kind they want to get committed to. You must watch. So sex, financial commitments, and then even major decisions like holding a joint bank account or buying a property together. All those things are things that should not be done at that stage, preferably. There are occasional situations where it's worked, but it's not the norm. And so you rather err on the side of caution than on the side where you think that at that point when you're in the process of a third level of relationship, you must make that commitment and engage in such things. So from the dating, then you see that this one, out of this my three good lady friends, this one I like her more than the rest. I like the way she carries herself. I like the way she does her stuff. I like her character. The challenge we have these days is that people are largely very professional, but they are not complete human beings, because it's like the dynamic of society now is moving us so fast towards achievement without being totally whole. So you see somebody who is academically astute, very intelligent on his job or her job, she's very excellent, but that's all there is to her. She's selfish, in terms of all the social skills, in terms of being complete and balanced human beings, their value system, their considerations, they are very selfish, they are very petty, they are very high-handed. So these are all things that during the dating you begin to see. And then if you begin to see those little signs, and then you realize that, out of the other, this is the one that I think has the character, has the moldings that I think I can make a life with, then that will take us to the fourth level.
Which is courtship.
Yes, courtship. So at courtship stage now, you are choosing one. And particularly for those who go by the ordinance, you are choosing one, because Now you are telling the person, I want to be committed to you. And the aim of this commitment is so we can work towards marriage. So courtship is is the actual commitment level.
Yeah.
Dating is not.
Okay.
Dating is a process where you are beginning to get to know yourself a little more and hope to move on. Now, when you've chosen the person at the stage of courtship, then you have made a commitment. And so you cannot now go dating other ladies.
Yeah.
You cannot, or other guys. You cannot go around.
This one.
You must stick to that one. You can't also go around, as it were, making promises to others, because you've made a promise to one. Because so courtship is the commitment stage, and as at this stage that you are hoping it will end in marriage. Once again, courtship is also not marriage. So the same things in dating would apply when it comes to sex. There are people who can't hold themselves and want to do such things, but you know, there's a faith-based dimension, and there's also even the health dimension. There's also the social dimension. Oftentimes when, and people come from different backgrounds, so we're not saying that we are in the perfect situation where everybody is not indulging or has never indulged. But what normally happens is that when you engage in intimacy, extreme sexual intimacy or physical intimacy, what happens is that if you've done it to 1, 2, 3, 4, there's always room for comparison. And that alone becomes a challenge. Some have a high affinity for sex, and so now they have something to compare with. And so that alone, even at the courtship stage, becomes a challenge. Similarly, the issue of provision and support. If you are using your sponsorship role as a reason for marrying the person, or you are looking for somebody who will be subservient to you, that also is not a good posture to have, because then it means that you are looking at what you are going to gain only and what will be the mutual benefit of the two. So some of the key elements at the courtship stage, as you are deciding, is to see whether a person has a teachable posture. Because everybody, no matter how good or bad they are, have room to learn. So the person, somebody who is willing to learn, is he or she teachable? Some people are very arrogant, and some people are very incorrigible. If there's a problem, they always think it's you, the other person, never them. So those are the things that will inform your decision. So if the person is teachable, the person is considerate. If the person has a vision, a purpose, it doesn't have to be definite and grandiose. And if the person is consistent, you know, because like we talk of liar, some people are very inconsistent. So if the person is consistent, the person is dependable. And then there are little things that come in their posture. So once you have decided, you carry on the courtship. Now, if at the courtship stage, there's a higher level of engagement, because now it's one-on-one. So if you start seeing certain signs of certain things that you didn't see during the dating time, courtship is still not marriage. And at that point, if the things are not things you can deal with or you can handle, maybe the person is not consistent with his time, the way their money management is bad, they have very low self-esteem, they are extremely controlling, they are always trying to play smart. I mean, whatever values or things you notice that you are not comfortable with, it's during courtship that you must interrogate it. Oftentimes, because people are in love during courtship, they overlook these critical red flags, and it shows up more deeply in marriage, and now they are trying to find a solution. So it's at courtship stage that, though you have made a commitment, you still are exploring the possibility. And if that works out fine, the person, you are both okay, then you go to the fifth level.
The last one, which is the marriage.
Yes, and then you carry out the marriage proper. And marriage itself is a journey, so there will still be new discoveries and some surprises in marriage. And then you can carry it on. But the key element is that it's in marriage now that the two of you are one, legally, socially, in terms of the family value, because now you do the traditional marriage or you do the ordinance, whichever one, and then you can do the church bit of it. But all that now makes the two of you one legally, and you sign the marriage register. So then the two of you are one, and so you can own joint properties. You can share whatever you have, because now whatever you have is for the two of you, and that is when whatever you can be, can do, can be done together. So once you manage those dynamics properly, then you'd have a clear channel, and you must know how each one runs.
So now here's the question. You meet somebody for the first time, and the person becomes an acquaintance. How quickly should, I won't say can, but how quickly should one be permitted or should permit themselves to move from acquaintance to marriage?
Yeah. You can't give a particular timeline, but I would say that it should not be anything less than 6 months.
Okay.
If it goes into a year or two, it's much better.
Okay.
Because you see, and the other dimension is also the age factor. When you meet the person much earlier, you have a little more time. When you do so a little older, when you are in your late 30s or early 40s, then your time is limited. You get me? But anyway, which way, there's always a room for time, because the element of time reveals stuff.
Yes.
So if you rush it, often people say what love at first sight, what head over heels over you. So that is the thing, and then they start acquaintance. But you need to be able to check whether what you are seeing is authentic thing. So give yourself some time, like I'm saying, at least 6 months.
Okay.
But if you can give yourself much more time, and there are key things to observe in the process: the consistency, asking certain questions under different circumstances always. Surprise visits where you are sure it's safe.
Okay.
Because you can meet somebody and you are ahead of a heels of the person because he has the kind of physique you want or the way they talk, something about them dazzles you. But there's more to marriage than that. So you need to evaluate those things. You need to validate your assumptions as you may see them, and then be sure that what you are seeing is a real deal and nothing else. And once you manage that properly, if at any stage you feel the person is coming on too strongly, the person is making some demands, whether male or female, then you know that no, this is not the right place to be. That's what I was saying.
Are there red flags to check you at every stage of relationships, or is it just for marriage, between courtship and marriage? Are there red flags for every stage of relationship?
Yes, there are, and the issue is that that's the beautiful thing about the process, because as an acquaintance, you agree, okay, let's get to work, maybe even so you can have acquaintances at workplace. Let's get to work at say 7 o'clock to get this thing done. And this person is always, you are a male, she's female, and this person is always coming in an hour and a half late and always having excuses. That's why the person cannot be your friend. So you can't even move from the acquaintance level, which is just basic engagement level, to even a level of considering the person as a friend, because you see that clearly the person's value of time is wrong. Somebody who is always one story or the other, and there's not the consistent trail. So even at the acquaintance stage, now comes the level of friendship. You draw close, you are sharing, you are caring, and then maybe you divulge some quite personal information. Then before you are aware, others hear about it. That person cannot keep.
That's disastrous.
Yes, so that's a red flag. That's such a friend. You need to be wary of what you share or care about in that regard. So that's for the friendship level. And when it comes to dating as well, the person starts making some huge demands. If you are drawing close to me, then you must take care of my family. You must pay my school bills. You must rent me an apartment. That is also a sign. Is she calling you a sponsor? Is she coming close to you because of the benefits? Yes, the wherewithal, or that it's either about you or about what you have. You get me? So that's also red flags. And the person's posturing, because at the dating stage, for instance, are they very arrogant? Are they easily angered? Do they have anger issues? Are they very tough to deal with? Are they considerate? Do you always want to have their way? So all those things are signs that will show. And then the same thing is a person, somebody who keeps his word. If he says he's coming, is he coming? Or as you are with him on his phone, you are in his presence, he's discarding your presence and is snobbing you and on the phone constantly. That's disrespect. So those are our signs. He's somebody who is so busy and always says, my work, and you're the kind who wants to have time besides work. Then you know that no, this may be a good guy or a good lady, but her work takes precedence of everything else. So that's something you need to watch. Then it goes on the same for the courtship and then before. Because I want to get to marriage. Marriage is, like we say, marriage is the final deal, because that one has all the ramifications and all the dimensions that bring you together as one and gives you the right to procreate, to have pleasure, to have all that other stuff that go with it.
At what point would you say that if you see a red flag, do I accommodate because maybe I don't have enough information? I see the red flag, but I'm not sure whether it's a blip, that will go away, or this is something that's a real problem for me to deal with. At what point do you say, you know what, I'm not, some people may say, listen, you're too hasty. Take your time. Be a bit more patient and be forbearing, But then some people say, but you saw the problem. Why didn't you just walk away? So there's those things, and sometimes it's challenging.
Yes.
At what point does one see a red flag and say, you know what, I'm out?
The first thing is, what is a red flag?
Okay.
And the second thing is, what is your threshold? And the third thing is it a major issue or a trivial issue? Like Amos Kevin often say, always check the irreducible minimums. There are some levels, some items that on your checklist you should not take out. So maybe the issue of, if the red flag is something that is trivial, maybe it has to do with his time.
Okay.
That can be worked on, or that can sometimes be overlooked if it is not extreme, in the sense that serious engagements or appointments, the person does not show up or on time or at all.
Okay.
But then when it has to do with something like maybe a character flaw, they are liars. And we spoke about the types of liars the last time.
Yes.
The person is a pathological liar, a born liar, lies about any and everything. Trust is key in a relationship. So such a thing as not being able to trust what the person says, because you can't tell when he's speaking the truth or lying. That's a major red flag. So then the next thing is, what is your threshold? Can you deal with such a thing?
Can you handle that? Yeah.
Can you handle that in marriage? Because you should not go in with the mindset of, okay, to change. People do change and people do get better. But the question you should ask at such a time when you see a red flag is, can I live with it? If you can't, then that's okay. If you cannot, and it's not a minor issue, like we're saying, something has to do with the core value system, something has to do with the basic elements of the person's character. Those are major ones that don't change easily, and those are quite difficult to live with. But if you think you can't live with it, then you should be prepared, because in marriage it will be multiplied. The fullness of it will come up. You get me? So that's what I say, that after observing it. And then the other thing too is, some people don't know who they are, or are not aware of those flaws in their lives. And so sometimes when you bring it up to their attention, you realize that sincerely they are doing something about it.
Okay.
Then, so that's why I always talk about having time before you decide, or before you carry on the marriage. Because then when you give yourself some time, if the person is genuine about changing, to a certain degree, you will see. Okay. When they are not, then you can. So this guy is just trying to whitewash the issues, but it's not really committed to making a change.
Okay. So we have a few messages here. Viewers watching by Facebook are commenting. Sylvester J says, inspiring, learning a lot. Ras Achicho Benjamin says, great education. Dinah Mante Aitefio says, thank you, sir, but please, sometimes we are carried away with love, and that is why sex is in the loop. Thank you for your education. I want to go on that particular tangent and talk about the issue of if I can use the term premature sex.
Okay.
So, is it ever permissible or excusable to have sex prematurely? Let me use that.
You know, society evolves. And so when you're talking purely from a societal perspective, people are free to do anything they want to do once they have reached the age of consent. So an individual has a right to do what he or she wants to do with himself or herself.
Yes.
So sex is permissible under the social dynamics of a person doing stuff. But even within the social dynamics, then you come to the health dynamics, which is under the social dynamic.
Yes.
That, you know, when you talk about some even issues of even cervical cancer and stuff, one of the elements that have been found out is that people who have had multiple partners early are at higher risk of contracting it. So you see that even within the social permissibleness of the issue, there is even that health concern and that risk. Besides that one, we spoke also of the comparisons. If all you've had in your life is banana, when you come to taste an apple, it's different. But when you've had bananas, apples, grapes, and all that stuff,
Yeah, you have a space for a lot of
comparisons. And then that later on comes to hurt you in your relationship. So it's a natural inclination. And some people are unable to hold themselves and indulge in it. And people are coming from different backgrounds, different perspectives, and we have been doing it all through. But what we are saying is that what are the benefits and what are the things that are not helpful?
Yeah.
You get me? And she spoke about the fact that it's a love thing. Yeah, love makes us vulnerable. But that is also why people take advantage of vulnerability. Okay. There are people around who all they want from you is sex. And after they think they've had enough of you, they take you nowhere. But you see, sex is the highest form of intimacy. It's not just an activity. It's the bonding of the soul, the spirit, and the body. The trichotomy of a human being. And so that brings you into a certain level of closeness. And so if it is not followed up with other levels of closeness, it becomes disorienting. And what happens is that it gets to a point now, you know the song, How Could an Angel Break My Heart?
Yeah.
Every time you go, you take a piece of me with you. What happens then is it gets to a point where love in its real definition becomes meaningless. Because then you think that if somebody loves you, then they must get sex from you or give you sex. But love is much bigger and fuller than that. So sex is just one aspect. There's communication, there's commandery, there's companionship, there's consideration, there's affection, there's romance. And also all these various stages come into the fry or the pan of the relationship. You get me? Then you can even come down to the final produce, the faith-based dimension, where scripture and stuff encourages abstinence, because then, in line with the things we said, helps to. And if a person has been doing it, there's no wrong posture or time. So the best time to start is now. And you realize that when you're able to manage it properly, it serves you in the end. Then people have his ex and her ex and her, and if it's the ex hasn't had any sexual dimension, why is the person afraid of you or your ex? But if the ex or somebody you are intimate with, then the new person who comes on is always concerned. Is she dating him? She having an affair with him? And so sex, though it's supposed to be within a context that helps us to express it fully, it's being overrated and tends to create all the dimensions. And I think the last thing I want to add on that, what pumps us up is what we feed on. And whatever you feed grows. So if you feed on very exotic and erotic and explicit stuff, you'd end up being pumped up, and you want to find expression. So the content would in fact affect the container. The container would carry out some actions, and those actions will have their consequences.
So Rashida Idrisu says, very informative, thumbs up. Amel Sabe says, interesting revelations. Most times we ignore the red flags because we are in love and deceive ourselves that it will change after marriage, or we can change them. Beloved, don't be deceived. That's what Amel is saying. And then Stephen Sai says, hello, I don't know if this has already been discussed, but where does the consideration for the individual's love language come in?
Yes, love language basically would come in at the courtship stage. And you see, if you go through the various stages we've spoken about and the levels, you discover some of these things as you go along. But at the courtship stage, that is where now is just the two of you. So this is where now you are trying to know the person. And if they know, we often say that get to discover yourself and be a student of yourself, then also a student of your partner at the stage of courtship. So at that point, you are going out, you are spending quality time. Those are the times you find out. You realize you bring her a gift. Sometimes people don't know. So the more we read, the more we learn, the more information we have of ourselves. If you know your love language, it's easy to just share with that special, significant person that, look, I love gifts or I love quality time. And for me, quality time means you giving me eye contact, we doing nothing and just chatting for 30 minutes. Like I said that some time ago, that for somebody else, quality time means maybe watching a movie together, just so that they can remain and all. So you need to understand. Where the person does not know, then you need to discover. You help him or her with what they are doing, and they are so grateful and they are full of appreciation. They say, oh, thank you for loving me. That's their love language. Or you come and then you hold their hand for a stroll and they are, you made my day. So then, being a student of that person, drilling down, you begin to learn. And then, of course, you can't know everything, marriage to also offer you a higher dimension of it. But at least at the courtship stage, you should be able to learn those critical lessons of what their love languages are.
Okay.
And
Facebook viewers are really active this morning.
Wow.
Kennedy McLeod says, I love this. Say, you're too much. God bless you for sharing with us. How good is it to be in a distant relationship?
Okay, see, the good and the bad. The question is, why is somebody in a distant relationship? That's what it's happened to be. The key element to ask is, how long is it going to be? And what is the nature of the engagement? Do you know the person before the commitment? You know, some people get into those relationships because the person they're physically together, maybe not even connected before, then the person goes and then through exchange of communication, they get connected.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't know each other and somebody links them and they get connected. The challenge with that, even those you know before they leave sometimes change. And in distant relationships, sometimes you don't have the benefit of your physical presence to be able to determine whether the A is A or is Z. You get me? So there's the issue of trust. There's the issue of openness. And then there's the issue of the genuine connectedness. Somebody can be connected to somebody else and will come online for the whatever period or engage you and make you feel the special person in his or her life.
Okay.
Or the others there. And you are not in that jurisdiction to ever find out.
Okay.
You get me? So long distance relationship can work, particularly if it's within a country, you can plan to engage, physically. If it's across borders, that becomes also something you can work out. But the challenges are the things I've mentioned, that people can pretend a lot. People may not be what you think they are, particularly if you didn't know them before the engagement.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do your primary school mates, your acquaintances or friends in primary school, and now you want to move to a level of courtship. So you must validate whether they are who they claim to be and whether they are being sincere in their engagements. And those are things you can find out by the questions you ask. I have had the opportunity where you've spoken to people who have gotten broken when they ask people to check on some of their people, and the report that they are giving is terrible because the guys are doing stuff and yet
completely something different from what they imagined.
So those are the risks. And the other thing is that when you now come to live together, because you didn't have the advantage of being physically present with each other to grow the courtship, you have to be ready to learn your courtship in your marriage.
Okay.
Because you didn't have the presence of each other.
Okay.
So now you're going to discover things that you should have discovered at the courtship stage in your marriage. So for a long distance relationship, the key element is trust.
Yeah.
Is the openness of the relationship and the genuineness of it.
Okay.
And then you can manage the communication dynamics.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Michael Mensah. Michael Mensah is a family life advocate, a counselor, and also is one of our panelists on Fam Life, which airs every Saturday morning on City 97.3 FM.
Hi there. We hope you enjoyed the show.
Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share with your friends.
This is Breakfast Daily on City TV.
Join the Breakfast Daily team Monday through Fridays from 7:30 a.m. to 10. Join us for breakfast daily, only on City TV.